Hello, everybody. I am Ruminus,
I'm August.
and we are continuing on with a discussion of Kratos' character, in particular his masculinity, in the original God of War series. This time we're focused on God of War 3. Now, whereas God of War 1 had a more complex and dimensional character, God of War 2 had just angry man, punch really good, and then we have God of War 3, which continues on with more of a nuance and actually tells a little bit more of a story in terms of Kratos' character. In the beginning, we take off right where God of War 2 ends, and we see Kratos returning to form, where he's just angry, he's vengeful. There are story reasons where he could have fixed this, but we're going to continue on with his masculinity. His masculinity will not allow failure in any way, shape, or form. And that is what got him into the problem with Ares. It's also what got him into with Zeus. Had he been more calm, more compassionate, more anything else, the gods may have not fought him originally. They may have taken pity on him. They might have done certain things, but instead, he's going to continue on this path of vengeance, and so he does. We go through the first part of the game, and we initially kill Poseidon, one of the major deities of the Greek pantheon, and we do so pretty brutally. Poseidon's already beaten, he's already wounded. There's no real reason to kill him other than to potentially stop him from doing anything else, but because Kratos doesn't even give him a chance, doesn't really talk to him, what does he do? Slaughter him entirely.
It's kind of interesting. The game, the Kratos is sort of written into. I'm not gonna call it a stupid plot, although, like you said, with them introducing time travel into the second and third game, it is really dumb that he didn't just fix his own problems immediately because he could have done that.
Yeah.
So ignoring that because that's not what happened, right? So we have to ignore that because it's not
Yeah.
what happened.
And our
And you
focus
could
here
blame it
is on
on
his character, in particular his
right, his
how he
character,
handled how
right?
he and things. Yeah.
Right. So he's blinded by rage, makes a bad decision. And that's okay because that's who he is. And that's what a man does. I
Yeah.
think between the second game and up to that point in the third game, I think there is a change in his character from this moment that we first meet him in the first game. So in the first game, he's not pathetic, but compared to the rampage he goes in at the end of the second game and throughout the third game, like in the first game, he's just this like this lapdog, this guy who's going to do anything to fix his mind. He's plagued by nightmares, right? And so
Mhm.
he bends the knee for Athena. You know, he bends the knee for Ares for so long, and then
He's
gets tri-
truly atoned for. He truly is remorseful,
he's
and
yeah yeah
he's willing to go basically from serving Ares to the gods in order to
right to
fix,
another god.
or at least to
Yeah,
atone for what he's done. And then one thing I
right.
want to point out is in the first game, he never asked to be forgiven. He never, because he doesn't believe that he's worthy of that. He just wants to
He's just
stop having the pain.
right. The nightmares and the
Yeah.
yeah. So in that first game, you see a man who, again, like you said, regrets his actions and is thinking about ways to fix the problem. And in the third game, you see a man who surely he does continue to regret his actions, but that's no longer the point. We're past the point of atonement. We're past the point of forgiveness. We're past the point of forgetting about the past because he has a chance to fix it. And he says, no, I'm past all that. This is about the principle of the matter. I was fucked with for too long. I was shit on. I was spit out. This is personal. Fuck my demons. I'll deal with them at the end of the game. Like, and it's kind of like a little bit of a degradation of his character. Almost becomes more just simply focused on the one thing that he's good at, which is killing gods. And it's like kind of like sad to see because you're like you had because he had a chance and he squandered it for petty revenge. So in terms of like the way his character is it's sort of like his morality is degraded a little bit, and therefore his actions are less honorable. They're less defensible. They're less reasonable.
I would say, in somewhat of defense of that, one, he has crossed a threshold that he can't really stop anymore. Once you basically launch a war, especially against like a higher power like that, you don't have a choice to back. You can't just be like, "Oh, my bad," and back down because he's already been condemned by the gods. He's already been in pain. Zeus has already tried to kill him. So his choices are he could run, and again that's not something. But the thing is, he doesn't think about that. One, because he's a Spartan, and two, because that's a bitch move. That's not masculine. What does he do? He fights and he struggles. And I would say also in defense of that, he doesn't think about any of that because he's so enraged. The only thing he knows is I'm going to kill and I'm going to fight because that's how I solve my problems. These problems will not go away with diplomacy because he doesn't consider that an option. And that's I would say that is a mark of the whole moral of vengeance across many cultures and stories is vengeance is a poison. It will hurt you as well, but you were usually so blinded by it, you don't recognize it. And that's what happened with Kratos. Kratos probably could have stopped some of this at any point, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but he could have stopped this, is that if he went to Poseidon and said, I'm not here to kill you, I'm here to stop what's happening. If I let you go, and you go tell Zeus, I want to be free of my demons, and I want to be, you can take away my godhood, you can take away all this power, you can fight the Titans, just let me free of the demons, they might have been amenable to that.
Unlikely. But
Unlikely. But the thing is, Kratos is also, he's not willing to lose, he's not willing to do any of that. And I would say that is kind of a dumb move, because what's to stop Zeus from killing him once he removes his memory or whatever, something like that. And also, again, we're talking about magical powers, anything's possible, but we'll go along with the story, kills Poseidon, and then he watches the seas rise and drown most of the Greek world. At this point in the story, we only know it's the world itself. We don't know if it's whatever. But basically, the sea levels rise pretty significantly to drown a lot of places that aren't in the mountains. So life is just fucked currently. But does Kratos stop? Does he really consider his actions? Does he do anything like he does in the first game of, by the gods, what have I become? No. He continues on his actions, and he continues on his path of vengeance.
he can no longer hold himself accountable. I don't know if he ever could, but like he's definitely not in the position or the mindset that he's in now. And quite frankly, I'm sure if you asked him and he was willing to answer, he'd be like, "The gods did this. I'm merely what they made me. I must."
Yeah.
And because the Greeks have like this I don't know, this hardwired response to anything that happens as except for when he doesn't, as it just being fate, like this is fated, this is destiny, it has to be this way. Even Kratos says that a few times, except when somebody throws it back in his fate, and it's like, you can't do this, you have to stop, the fates are not on your side. And he's like, I've defied the fates, fuck them. But then when asked why he's still going this rampage, it must be this way. It always will. It's going to be this way. And I was like, well, you can't. It's stupid.
Yeah,
But
and I would say it goes along with, again, I think it is incidental in this game, but goes along with this Greek tragedy. He's not changing his character. He's so intent on doing this. He does the exact same things he did when he was a mortal Spartan captain, of just going on rampages, killing everything in his wake, not considering what he was doing, and getting to the point where he's gonna push himself into a corner where he either has to kill everything or be killed. There's gonna be no diplomacy left. He's now drowning the world. And instead of going, oh shit, I need to not do that again because I just killed a bunch of innocent people, I destroyed the world. To finalize that, part of the masculinity is, and it goes along with a lot of the problems that Kratos had in the very beginning, I will not be besmirched, I will not be belittled, I'm strong, I'm capable, I need to be the biggest dick on campus. That is what I need to do. And that is a huge problem with masculinity when it's taken out of control. Because much like a fire, much like ambition, greed, there's a certain point where it becomes absolutely destructive because the fire grows and grows and grows to the point that it can't be contained. And that is what Kratos is doing right now. He will have his vengeance, he will not be besmirched, he will not give up, he will kill anything that stands in his way. He is willing to let gods go if they get out of his way, just like he did in God of War 2 with all the demigods, like just stay out of the way, I don't care. But because they stand in his way and they try to stop him, he will kill them without pretty much any regard whatsoever, despite the consequences.
I don't.
My sacrifice to save Zeus has brought me to a higher existence.
You still appear to be an Olympian.
Appearances can be deceiving, Kratos.
So can the children of Olympus.
So we see Poseidon die, he gets back on Gaia, Zeus shoots with a super powerful lightning bolt, which he should have done in the first place and keep doing that. I don't know why. Again, magic bullshit. Always MacGuffins and random stuff in stories like this because it doesn't make any sense. But we go back to the other world, and that's where we first meet Athena. And we do see some manner of remorse, some manner of sadness in him in this story. Pretty early on, because he says, My blade was meant for Zeus. I didn't mean to kill you. You betrayed me. I didn't want to do anything. And this is kind of one of those moments that, while short and subtle, I do think speaks volumes, especially in terms of masculinity. Kratos is willing to admit, like, in a roundabout way, in a very masculine roundabout way, I made a mistake. I should have had more control, but you also did this. And it's kind of one of those things, like, if he had more emotional character, he would have said, I'm sorry, I should have held my blade. You weren't meant to die. It was only Zeus.
We learned a couple of things about Kratos. We learned that he still, had love for the gods at that point when that happened. But that turns into more rage for the gods because he feels like they, forced him to do that too. So we know that he's not like incapable of, having other emotions, but he does seem to be mostly incapable of processing them to any meaningful effect. It's not necessarily really productive for him to do so. He's got a mission. He's got to finish it. And at this point, he's all in. He's lost his wife. He's lost his daughter. He's lost the only god that he cared about. He's not like in blackout mode, but he basically is just like, I'm done giving a shit about consequences.
There's nothing left
the
to
entire
lose.
third game.
Yeah.
The entire third game is him not giving a shit about consequences, or fixing himself. He no longer cares about himself or the world, and I think they don't say this, but I think it's not stupidity that makes him choose to go back into the past and just fight more instead of fixing, himself. I think it's a choice that he does make. I'm not going to say that he realized he could have done something different. I think that he probably ruminated on this maybe like much later. And he's like, ah, shit, I could have saved my wife and kid. Oh, well, I did what I did. Like, I feel like he must have known what he was doing. Although, like, you can be like, well, he was just being impulsive. Like, yeah, that makes sense. But I think he's okay with the choice that he made to go back to the past just to kill Zeus. Because at that point, he was going to do that. And this was the only way to do that. And there was nothing that was going to stop him. Because, again, all the women in his life are dead. All the women that ever cared for him are dead. All the people that ever cared for him are dead. Mostly at the fault of the gods. Mostly. He has some culpability there for sure. And I don't even think that because when we get to the fourth game, there is definitely like commentary about the way that he behaves in terms of like what he thinks it means to be a man. I don't think that's present at all in the second game, and I think it's significantly less present in the third game. I think there are choices that Kratos makes that do reflect the culture that he grew up in and who he is now as a result of that culture and as a result of the god's actions. But and naturally that has to reflect to some extent how that society feels about masculinity and about rage.
Calliope,
Oh,
you are not my daughter.
no. But I know who you are.
You know of me.
They said you would come.
Definitely not intentional from like a meta standpoint of the game. The game is not trying to make a point about being a manly man anymore. I think the first game you can make a case for that. Second game, definitely not. There's no retrospection in the second game at all, which is really funny knowing that it's the same director who made the fourth game where that retrospection is in full effect. In the third game, I think you can make arguments about how you can see Kratos change throughout the game.
Well, I would say as we go through the game, there's basically most of the core of the game from the beginning to the end is pretty much the same. You go through the same kind of story beats. So we go to the underworld, we see Athena, and then we meet also this young girl, Pandora, who he initially mistakes for his daughter. Now, reminder, in the PSP game, you go down to Elysium, you see Persephone. Persephone basically leads him there with his wife and daughter. And the reason she does that is that there's some sort in the lore of God of War, once you enter Elysium or something like that, you can't, and you leave it, you cannot come back. So the whole trick was to imprison Kratos in this world while she destroys creation itself so that she can evade the underworld. Again, extreme and dumb, but it makes sense. She knows that Kratos is the champion of the gods and needs to stop him. So he, of his own choosing, while he's with his wife and daughter, again in the underworld, leaves them. And he fights the gods, kills Persephone to save creation. Again, a moment of sacrifice that is not pushed by anything but his own self. So when he sees Pandora, he immediately thinks it's his daughter Calliope, and then goes, you're not my daughter. He's offended by it. He's upset by it. And Pandora calls out to him and says, I need help. And at least in the voice acting and the directing, I think this is intentional, is very much, he kind of is morose about it. He's like, I want to help you, but I can't because I have my own mission. Again, kind of going along with the idea of vengeance in itself, but also this masculinity of, I have to help myself first. I'm the one that comes first. I'm the most important. My mission is important. I can't think about anybody else right now.
Kratos?
How do you know of me?
You're the ghost of Sparta. Everyone knows who you are. Everyone is afraid of you.
There are reasons for that.
I'm not afraid of you.
It is good you're not afraid, child. Fear is a heavy burden.
I'm not a child, Kratos.
It does not matter what you are. My concerns lay elsewhere.
Kratos, please. I need you to free me.
The quest for freedom is also a heavy burden. I cannot help you.
Again, you can make a case 2 or 4 whether or not a masculine, like a true masculine person would think about other people, but in this sense of masculinity that Kratos has, it is truly, I'm the only one that matters, I'm the only one that cares. So, he sees Pandora, leaves her alone, gets a plate of Olympus back, and then, so the whole point in the underworld, he hears the song of Pandora. Pandora singing a song similar to how Calliope was always on her flute, so he kind of resonates with his daughter a bit in that aspect. He kills Hades, and there's not really much story or comment there. Hades just provoking him, blames him for killing his wife, when in fact Persephone was the one trying to kill everything in the world. So Kratos kills him, takes his blades, releases the souls of the world into the normal realm. So now souls of the dead are just roaming wherever they want. Nothing's contained anymore. And so he has a moment of hesitation as he's about to enter the normal world again. And Athena, the ghost of Athena, comes back, tells him, complete your mission. You need to focus on what you're doing. At which point, Kratos snaps back into it and says,
Zeus will die.
he has this moment of just like, Pandora, my daughter, all sorts of stuff, and then snaps out of it. A very subtle thing, and goes away. And then he goes back to the normal world. He finds Helios. Helios is already beaten. He's destroyed. A Titan has already crushed him to death. There's no real reason for him to kill Helios, especially in such a brutal way. But he does so. Helios basically begs for his life. He tries to trick him. But Kratos does what he does. And there's no real reason for it. At least story-wise up until this point. Later on, you go through these dark channels and stuff. We use Helios' head as a lantern. But that hadn't happened before. There was no reason for Kratos to know that, so he just kind of did it of his own accord, because he's so overcome with vengeance and being pissed off. He goes and kills out the gods. Hermes does the same thing.
Brother, this is not between us, Hercules.
Still wanting to kill my husband, I suppose?
You know I seek revenge on Zeus.
Can't say that I blame you.
He goes up to Hercules. He tells Hercules, we don't need to fight. Stop doing this. He asks to Hera, hey, just tell me where Zeus is, I'll leave you guys alone. So he is trying to be calm and peaceful at certain moments, but gods keep pissing him off, including Hera. Hera provokes him over and over again. And Kratos shows the most restraint he has in this game, where she swings at him, he catches the pretty weak attack and just kind of tosses it aside. But it is until she continues to provoke him and insults Pandora that he actually goes and kills her as well. He just basically kills everything in his path, because most things will not stop. And Kratos never really takes a moment, as Dion said, to reflect on this. To maybe do things more stealthily, to get out of the way, to try and negotiate with the gods. To do anything whatsoever. And I think that is part of the vengeance, and it's also part of his masculine culture of just like, I'm in too deep, I need to do this, I need to keep going, I am angry, and I can't express any emotion, I can't express hesitance, I can't express fear, I can't express anything besides that, because that is weakness.
He does show restraint with Hera at first, because she's not a threat to him. And then she provokes him, and he's like, well, I have 2 issues with that, actually. Let's take a step back to Helios. For Helios, I think, knowing what you told me about Helios' story with Kratos and how Kratos saved him in one of the side games.
Yeah, so in the same PSP game, he's the one who saves Helios.
Kratos, I have not forgotten the debt I owe you. Save me
as you once saved me from Atlas. And I promise to repay you in full.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been really interesting to have a single other character besides Athena be on Kratos' side, just because they know that Kratos is not just a mindless killing machine, but he has, like, I don't know, you call it a moral code or whatever, but he gives up the one thing that he's always wanted, which is his wife and daughter back, to save all of creation. Because what does he care if the world exists as long as he's with his family, right? That's what Persephone thought he would think. But then he goes and he saves Helios and he saves the world from Persephone, which is a stupid plot. Not going to get into that at all. And I thought for a moment when Kratos found Helios suffering and on the brink of death that, and then he asked Kratos to save him, and Kratos was going to be like, no, you're just another dumb god. I thought for sure this is a great moment. It would have been a great moment for the game to be like, hey, most gods suck, but some gods can be chill. You know, Athena was chill. Helios also chill. He could have been like, I know where it is. I'll tell you where it is if you save my life. And that could have been really cool. And instead, Helios on some fuckboy shit is like, fuck you, man. You'll never beat Zeus. I'm never telling you jack shit. And also, here's the power of the sun. What? You're literally, even if Kratos isn't there, you're like dying. So you're gonna antagonize the one man who's known to be good at killing gods in your weakened state? I'm not gonna call it weak writing or whatever. They did what they wanted with the story, and how they got there is how they got there, and that's fine. The game is fine. But I wasted opportunity, in my opinion, for a cool heel turn from the god's perspective, because we already know that he's got history with this man, and that he saved his life, and it would have made sense. Anyway, I thought that was dumb. But the problem with all of the gods, which has been consistent throughout, including with Athena later on, is that they're so full of themselves. Literally just hubris on display. So none of them think that they can die, despite seeing their brothers and sisters die repeatedly at the hands of this man. And so Helios fucking does that shit. Hera does. I don't know if Hera doesn't think she can die or what. But them making Hera a lush, what the, like ignoring all conventional portrayals of Hera, making Hera just a pathetic piece of shit, really funny. And but the thing is, right? So her being so frail and useless and worthless and pathetic, literally getting her neck snapped by Kratos, once she goes too far, and not being able to do anything about it, despite being a whole ass god, is really funny to me. I think that says more about the way the game is portraying men versus women, because Hera's a whole ass fucking god, and he just snaps her neck like nothing, and constantly is throwing her around as he's ignoring her attempts to provoke him until the very end.
Well, I would also say the way that Hera fights Kratos in her way is very traditionally feminine, I guess, if you want to say it that way. It's just emotionally battering him, which is yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this without much more clarification. The portrayal of Hera is borderline misogynistic.
Oh, 100%.
Like, it makes no sense. Like, and I'm not saying the game needed to like stick closer to the source material, because fuck the source material. We're having a lot of fun.
That's been gone since the first game, my
dude. Yeah. We're having a lot of fun with the ability to kill gods, right? So that throws away every major story that you know about every god. It doesn't matter what the gods have been able to do. There's no like, oh well, you know, if we're going by the canon, this shit doesn't matter, right? Despite that, gods are gods, and it really was really just shocked the fuck out of me that they were just like, except for this one. This one's a bitch.
Like, every other god can raise mountains, lift, like, do certain things. Not Hera. Hera, the queen of the gods. She's just a drunk. her power's being drunk.
Yeah. And keeping these flowers alive for now.
Yeah.
Oh no, you killed her. Those flowers are dead now. Like that's wild. I think that is another moment that if you wanted to read into it, you definitely could read some misogyny there, which goes hand in hand with the kind of toxic masculinity that Kratos kind of represents in this game, which actually I think is good as a piece of comparison for who Kratos becomes in the next game. So in a vacuum, like comparing God of War 3 to the first two games, this is another really weird moment. But if we're looking at the journey that Kratos takes as a character, this is a great moment to juxtapose to the character that he is able to become later. He certainly learns to respect people in general and women more.
So we kill all these gods, and what's most the two most important ones I would say that are a little bit break the mold, at least, are Hephaestus and Aphrodite. Where Hephaestus, Kratos doesn't do anything with. He basically just asks him for help. Hephaestus refuses, and Kratos is just like, whatever, I'll leave you alone. Hephaestus doesn't cause him any problems, and so Kratos leaves him alone until Hephaestus does cause him problems, and then Kratos does immediately what he always does. He kills him, even though he recognizes that Hephaestus is trying to do exactly what Kratos does, protect his child. Hephaestus tries to protect Pandora, tries to kill Kratos in the meantime, and Kratos, instead of having a kind of calm, rational... Instead of Kratos trying to talk with Hephaestus and saying, can you build me something to kill Zeus instead of using Pandora's box? No. What he does is, I'm angry, fuck you, don't do that shit to me, I'm the one in control, and kills him immediately. And then he goes to Aphrodite, again, another one of the few goddesses in the game, and she just propositions him, of course. But one thing I do like in the game is that Kratos, in the cutscene, doesn't do anything with that. He is fully just kind of brushing off all of Aphrodite's advances. You can choose whether or not you want to stay with Aphrodite at the very end, but the whole time in the cutscene, he's just like, I have a mission. I don't really care about this right now. Which does break the mold a little bit on the whole masculinity thing, because masculinity is all about, having the most money, having the most power, getting the most women, and, Aphrodite is the woman to have. So it's a little bit breaking the mold there, but that is all of the gods up until the very end when we get to Pandora. We get to Pandora, and Kratos immediately basically adopts her as his own child.
Goes full Joel from Last of Us on Earth.
He goes
with none of the same amount of game time. It takes him all of 3 escort quests to go full Joel.
Yeah. It is a little weird, but Kratos immediately, and whether you could talk about his character and stuff like that, but I would say it breaks the mold of his masculinity, of hyper-masculine vengeance, violence, Kratos, destruction, all sorts of things, and then immediately becomes a caretaker and a paternal figure to this young girl that he meets.
Actually, I will comment on that. I think that this is maybe something that's... You can't confirm it because we never have this happen before. And it only matters later in the next game. But this might be something that have always been true of Kratos. Kratos was a father. And as far as he would tell the viewer, he was doing what he did in the first game for his wife and daughter. He was conquering lands and... Well, no, he said he was doing it for the glory of Sparta, but he was trying to make them proud. Yep. That's how he was taking care of them. I'm sure Spartans got paid, I don't know, an amount of money to take care of their families. Because they were winning all the time, so they would have had plenty of money.
Well, it's also, remember, in the first game, they say specifically, the only person willing to raise his wrath is his wife. And
so I'm sure you respected the shit out of her.
Yeah, and there's no sign that he was angry, that he was belittling, that he badgered her, that he bludgeoned her at all. It seemed like he very much had the conversation and said, I'm here for the glory of Sparta. I'm fighting, that's my job.
And so... Even though in-game, literally, even if you spend, the maximum amount of time doing side quests and shit, in-game, it's really quick that he turns around and becomes, really protective of Pandora. It does take a while, because at first he's like, leave me alone, I've got shit to do. Mm-hmm. I would love to help you, but I've got shit to do. And then the moment that he needs Pandora and has to protect her, immediately becomes protective of her, to the point of almost throwing away his mission. Because as far as he knows, the only way he can beat Zeus is with her box. And as far as he knows, the only way to get the box is by sacrificing her. And when it comes down to it, when it comes time to clutch up, he doesn't want her to do it, even though she wants to do it now. And she doesn't even know that Hephaestus is dead. So it's not like she's got nothing to live for. She just is trying to do what she thinks she should do. So even though it seems like a complete 180 on his character, and it kind of is, I don't think it's out of nowhere, because all Kratos has wanted the entire time is to forget that he did the one thing that no one should ever do, which is kill his family. Because he was, as far as he thought, a good man and a good father. I've got a wife, I've got a daughter. They're waiting for me. Yeah. His wife could have left him, but they're waiting for me to come back home. I'm spreading the glory of Sparta through conquest, and I'm making them proud. And then I killed them.
Let's remember that he was going to war. He lost. subserved himself to Ares, sold his soul to the god of war,
Yeah.
continued in the name of Ares, committing all sorts of horrible atrocities, and the only thing that made him stop immediately was when he killed his wife and daughter. He truly...
Okay, so that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Because up to the point where he finally was bested in battle, you could say that he was doing it for the glorious party, yes, but because to make people proud, namely his wife and daughter. So then he loses his soul and it becomes a beast of Ares, who then he loses his wife and daughter. I would say that it makes sense that upon receiving a person, because Pandora's not a person, but you know, to his mind it is, because she's portrayed that way in the game. Upon receiving a charge that he is solely responsible for, against his will, more or less, even though he does, you know, take to the role quite readily, you know, he reverts back to. I mean, he already mistook her for his daughter once, right?
Yeah.
So then when he has to go get her, it makes sense that he reverts to this paternal figure because it's all he wanted. He short of getting his wife and daughter back, which he probably resigned away a long time ago. I'm sure at first he wanted them back, you know, stages of grief and all that. But he just wanted the memories of them either gone or the memories of him killing them gone. But then he gets another daughter figure back, resist it, because of course that's going to be painful. Again, literally the same fucking storyline as Last of Us. Before its time, truly. Resist it because it's painful, because he immediately mistakes us for his daughter. He's like, oh, that sucked. That was embarrassing. I don't want to think about that. And then when it comes time to use her, immediately, like, you know, ingratiates her, you know, they immediately, you know, switch to this paternal figure because that's who he was. He's lost himself in rage. And he's okay with that. He's lost himself in vengeance. And he's okay with that because he has nothing else to live for. But then as soon as he has anything, he turns right back into that guy that he wanted to be. And so it does come out of nowhere, but it does make sense in my opinion.
It does make sense of his character, and it is the crux of why I wanted to make these as we talk about Kratos' character, particularly with the next couple games. Because Kratos, at his heart, does have morals. He sacrificed everything that he ever wanted to save the world. He did it not because of the gods, but because it was the necessary thing to do. He had to let go of his daughter and wife in order to save things. When he kills his wife and daughter in a fit of rage, he immediately regrets it. He does everything he can to forget those things. He doesn't say to Athena, "Forgive me, let me atone, let me to the fields of Elysium." What does he say? I want to forget. I want to be done with the demons of the things that I have done. There's no fixing that. There really is no fixing it. I just want to not have those nightmares anymore. And then that's all he's ever done. So when he meets Pandora, it makes a lot of sense. And that's the crux of it, is that when he has what emotionally he's wanted, to be a dad, to be a caretaker, to be a husband, to have a family and a life, to have something worth living for, he calms down. And he's more compassionate. He's more silent. He doesn't just react to things immediately with the most explosive things. Pandora will say things that tick him off, that annoy him, but he doesn't react with violent rage and yelling all the time. He's more calm. Much more what we see in God of War 4. He goes back into that, he regresses back into it, which again, I think is the crux of what I'm trying to say with masculinity, is that masculinity, when the hyper-toxic form of that is exactly that. When you have nothing left to lose, the only thing you should be doing is just rage. It's power, it's control, it's leadership, money. It is being the top of the world or you're nothing. But now that he has Pandora, he's willing to fight for something, and you see him have hesitations at a certain point. You see him be more compassionate, lead her along, and at the very end, as he's about to get Pandora's box, and he's about to achieve this power to be able to kill Zeus and do all these things that, story-wise, are really dumb, but he's about to do this, he does something that's very important. He grabs Pandora, says, "No, I don't want to do this. We will find another way." He's willing to throw away his vengeance. He's willing to throw all of this away. He's willing to risk it all to save this girl and to be a father again.
Once in your pathetic life, don't fail. Don't fail her like you failed your family.
But then, of course, Zeus gets in the way and performs his own act of hubris and super masculinity of throwing it in his son's face, throwing it in Kratos' face, telling him he's worthless, he's worth nothing, and he's never going to achieve anything because he's king of Olympus, and Kratos is nothing. So, Kratos, in a fit of rage and potentially realizing that this is just the way it's got to be, releases Pandora into flame. He punches Zeus really hard in the face, opens Pandora's box, and there's nothing inside. He eventually goes to fight Zeus, and they have this whole big battle where neither one of them will relent because they blame each other for everything that's happening instead of, doing what would be reasonable and saying, hey, you fucked up, I fucked up. Let's try and fix all of this and try not to have this happen. Neither one of them do that because they're one and the same.
It is time to lay your fears to rest. The light reveals the truth. The power of forgiveness comes from within.
They kill each other, and then at the very end, there's some sort of reflection thing that's happened, exactly what we're talking about. Kratos goes back, looks at his wife and child, goes back at Athena, goes back at all these things with Pandora, and the whole thing is that he had the power of hope inside of him, which, whatever the fuck. But the whole point...
Athena says a few times that it was her power.
Yes.
Power you took from the box is mine. From it, you gained the strength that Zeus could never destroy. A strength great enough to overcome fear. Locked deep inside of you, Kratos, is hope.
She is not associated with hope. And again, this is just the game taking, major dramatic liberties, which is fine. There is other things I would have done than make Athena suddenly... It makes sense, she's a Greek god. A power-hungry, grubby, backstabbing piece of shit at the very end of the game. I think I wanted to say it is important that the things with Pandora does happen the way that it does, because it makes Kratos have this sort of in the same way that I was like, there's sort of a degradation of his character in the middle of this game, the third game, where he just sort of is on this violent rampage against the gods just because that he feels like he should be, because they betrayed him and they lied to him and they ruined his life. It's no longer about atonement. It's no longer, it never was about atonement. It's no longer about forgetting and moving on. It's just about revenge. The series of events that takes place around Pandora are important because he kind of remembers who he is, or rather who he wanted to be, which is important for the final cutscene of the game where he denies Athena.
All I remember is what I have lost.
That is why you should give me the power. I understand its true meaning and where it belongs. I trust you to do the right thing, Kratos.
You shouldn't.
You owe me this, Kratos.
I owe you nothing.
I made you a god. I sheltered you from the wrath of Olympus. I delivered you revenge on Zeus.
It is over, Athena.
I think because up to the last time that we saw Athena in the game, he still does care about her and still kind of does what she wants. She's still egging him on. She's still encouraging him. He's still listening to her. He doesn't outright deny her at any point in the game up until this final cutscene. She literally lifts Pandora up off the ground and returns her to Kratos, encourages him to sacrifice her to kill Zeus, and because of the way that things play out with Pandora, where Kratos is like, no, we'll find another way, throwing away his opportunity at vengeance, in his mind, his only opportunity at vengeance, so that he can be a better man. When Athena then comes back at the end, not knowing that Kratos is basically a changed man, he is able to see, just like the rest of them after all. Damn. Because all she wants is the power that she thinks he has.
Well, I would say one of the most impactful things for me to go back to, Kratos' original, that there is something inside of him and that this masculinism is causing problems and it's a facade, which it always is. It's an act in a certain way. It's amplified emotions and behaviors that are improperly handled. But at the end of the first game, what's important is that he has the same exact quest. I'm going to kill Ares, I'm going to do this, nothing's going to get in my way. And while he has a lot more self-reflection across the things, at the very end of it, he kills Ares, But you see him in the next cutscene, and he's on his knees, looking at the ground, breathing heavy, and just like, I did all of it. And now what? Like, that achieved nothing. And at the very end of the game, you kill Zeus, you beat his head in as much as you want, and the first thing that he says...
You have done well, Kratos. Freed from the bondage of Olympus and cleansed in chaos, mankind is now ready to hear my message.
Look around you, Athena. The world stands in ruin. What good is your message?
Go if you must. But first, I insist you give me the power from inside the box.
The box was empty. Pandora was sacrificed in vain. She died because of my need for vengeance.
I have my vengeance. Pandora's dead, and she died in vain. There's nothing left. I lost everything.
He lost another woman in his life.
Well, not only did he lose another woman, he realizes immediately, I did all that. I destroyed the world. I have nothing to live for. What the fuck did I do? He doesn't say that he doesn't say that last part, but it is with his tone, with how he acts. It's basically like, yeah, I won, but at what cost? What was the purpose of that? Now, what now? And he basically just tries to kill himself. Athena goads him quite a bit. Yeah.
Well, so again, I think it's important all the things that happen with Pandora because he's able to, like I was saying, in contrast to the way that his character degrades in the middle of the game to just having vengeance, it picks back up. He's able to regain some of that conscience, some of that morality that he lost because he has a new thing to live for or something. And because of that realization that there could have been another way, like he says, we'll find another way. It's Pandora. When she tries to sacrifice herself to open the box, even though he doesn't know that there is another way, he thinks that there could be, or he doesn't care because he wants to care about you instead.
He's willing to sacrifice himself for that. Yeah.
It's important that happens because it allows Kratos to pick pieces of himself back up that have substance, that have morals, that have character. Because I think if that doesn't happen, I think that he relents to Athena. I think that if he still cares about Athena in the same way that he did literally 20 minutes ago in the game, that he is like, yes, you can have whatever it is. I don't care. I did what I wanted to do. Here's yours. But instead, he's like, no, I don't have anything for you. I don't have anything for any of you. All of you are the same. You're all pieces of shit. You're all liars. You're all, And he releases the power of the sword, which worst MacGuffin I've ever seen in the game. It just doesn't make any sense. No consistency. And I'm not asking for consistency canonically from Greek mythology. Just consistency within your own damn lore. Sword is so... whatever. And then does the Pandora's box thing, which is to release hope back into the world, I think is the point of that segment.
Yes.
Okay, ignoring the way that works, Athena gets so mad about that. But it's super important to his characterization in the next game because he finally is just straight up fully, no longer disillusioned with any god at all. Not even Athena has sway over him anymore. And I want to say that it's important that he releases hope into the world, but it doesn't really come up in the next game. And as far as
you want me to say my favorite catchphrase?
Are you sure about that?
It comes up in Ragnarok.
God damn it. I wish you would stop saying that. That's so funny. Okay, well, I don't know about that. So let me finish this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I do think it's super important that what happens with Pandora changes him back to a better version of himself, so that he has the I don't know, strength and or the gall to buck Athena. So he releases the sword's power, intentionally or not. Which
it was very intentional. Yeah.
To release the sword's power, was it? Because he was just trying to kill himself.
He was, until Athena kept goading him and trying to trick him, and he realized that.
The only way to release the sword's power was to stab it through himself?
I guess. Again,
I mean,
going back to what you said, I'm not trying to have canonical in your own story. Like, what the fuck, man? No, it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
because worse than that, right? He goes through all that, and it makes sense that he wants to kill himself because he always wanted to kill himself because he's a piece of shit that killed his wife and daughter, right?
Yeah.
So now that his vengeance has finally been quelled, and that he no longer has that propping him up because he doesn't have the emotional intelligence to have, anything else. The vengeance has been enacted, right? Zeus is dead, and so he's like, I can't throw myself off any more cliffs. I'll just stab myself to death. Impales himself on the sword, releases the power of hope, much to Athena's chagrin, and then this is the thing that pisses me off the most. And then cutscene back to Zeus, Kratos' dead body. Except, oops, where is it? He crawled away. He lived. Who is crawling away after they try to kill themselves? If I try to kill myself, I'm lying there until I pass out for the 5th time. He crawls away.
So actually,
and then gets to have a better life in the next game. No.
Remember when we talked about this before?
Yeah,
I was actually wrong. I remembered something.
Okay.
That happened in Ragnarok, and they talk about that too.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
Now I will tell you, it's a much more subtle thing, but man, they do mention that. I would say it is dumb because man, he's impaled himself and does he have a big hole in his body.
This is what I have to say about that. It's okay. You have to tell me. Is the director of the 5th game the same for the 4th game and the 2nd game?
He is a co-director.
You said he's a co-director. Okay.
Yes.
He must. I know this is harder to know, but did he know he would have influence in the 5th game?
I would assume
because they wrote the 4th game with the cliffhanger, so.
I would imagine he knew he would have influence. I don't know if he knew he'd be the director.
Because the amount of shit.
Yeah.
Well, because like, so even though there was a different director for the 3rd game, he came back for the 4th game, and then he didn't deal with a lot of the problems that the 3rd game created that I'm having issue with here now. So are you telling me that he intentionally waited to the 5th game to address all of that? It's pissing me off.
If I was in a similar position, I would have done the same thing of like, I'm just not going to address it. We're just going to make a new game. We're going to kind of soft reboot this, and we're just going to ignore all that bullshit because it doesn't make any sense. We're going to make a new, more grounded story.
No one could know this because no one was here for this conversation, but as we were prepping for this, I kept bringing shit up about, man, this doesn't really get resolved in the story at all. Kind of annoying because they don't even bring it up in the 4th game. And like, I want to say with like a 90% fucking
response rate, I guess.
Yeah. Rumors just like, oh, actually, they bring that up in the 5th game. Actually, no. That does get resolved in the 5th game. Actually, if you want to minor spoilers, they're resolved in the 5th. Why? What? 2 games later, it's too late. You can't. I can't wait to figure out all these references they make to the first 3 games because I feel like you're just writing yourself into a deeper hole. Just forget it. Just so many franchises are just full retcon their shit, or even soft retcon their shit by just pretending it doesn't exist. So many games, so many movies just pretend that the earlier concepts just don't matter. I can't wait to figure out how they try to loop this into a nice little bow. Holy shit, you keep saying it, and every time you say it, it pisses me off. Actually, it comes up in the 5th game. Okay, fine. Fuck my point.
Kratos being who he is, at the very end, as Athena's trying to trick him, he recognizes it, he's upset over Pandora, he has nothing to live for, tries to kill himself, Athena tries to goad him, and tries to manipulate him again. You're gonna strike me down again? And Kratos is just like, the fuck, of course I will. Who the fuck do you think I am? And of course, he tricks her in a sense, but that, in the crux, is the toxic part of vengeance, of hyper-masculine culture, of things like that. It is, I have something to live for, I have something of value, I can provide a service, I am a caretaker, I am a father. And when he loses all of that, I have nothing to live for, so therefore, nobody has nothing to live for. I am everything, or I am nothing. And that is part of the problem. Again, it's hyperbolic, but that is part of the problem that goes along with Kratos. But Kratos is not himself a one-dimensional character, except in the second game. He has thoughts and feelings and emotions, and he has cares and other things. He matched them up with rage, with anger, with wrath, fury, all of those emotions, because as a man, especially the area and the time that I grew up in, that is what we were told to do. It is a weakness to show remorse. It is a weakness to be subservient. It is a weakness to be afraid. But that's not true. Fear is what got us to be survival, to go through survive for many, many years. It is a stupid, stupid thing to be like, yeah, I can take down that saber-tooth tiger. No, you're supposed to be afraid of it because that's a natural reaction, because that's how you die. We are not full of claws and armor. We are soft, switchy creatures. We fight with tools and weapons because we are intelligent creatures. That is what it is. Good.
I just want to interject. Fun thing you can do if you're a person that knows men in your life. Unfortunate for you, but if you do, just poll the closest 15, 20 men that you know. If you can get up to 100, great. And ask them, what is... I mean, you can probably just Google this or YouTube this. The biggest animal you think they could take down. There's a non-zero amount of men that say that they could take down a bear. I love that.
And the bear would flip them like a paper towel.
There's a non-zero amount of men that think they could take on anything bigger than a dog. And to be honest, most men wouldn't be able to take a dog down. Like a rabid dog, there's no shot. There are plenty of men that'll be like, I could take a deer, I could take a tiger, a bear, a horse.
Oh my!
And the answer is and I love that because it just goes like it is true. Like,
and
men just think they can do anything.
They do, and I would like to remind everybody, every man who's being upset right now, like, oh, I could definitely take this. Julius Caesar, one of the greatest generals of all time, was taken down by regular ass people. With people that get ambushed. That's what it was. And that's all that it takes to kill you, is an ambush. Do you think you could take down a 600-pound grizzly bear made of muscle and big-ass claws and teeth? No.
You would just choke it out.
Yeah, Hercules can, because he's divine and he's immortal. You cannot. No, it's just not going to happen. And that's part of the masculinity thing, is that there truly is nothing wrong with wanting to be strong and capable and a leader and all sorts of things. But a true leader knows when it's time for other people to take the mantle. A true leader knows when it's time to step down. A true leader knows that their own limitations and when it's time for other people to help them out and be collaborative. And the same thing goes with anger and fury and vengeance. Anger is, I mentioned this in the first video, almost always a subset of another emotion. Kratos in the first game is angry because he's sad, he's depressed, he doesn't know what to do, so he replaces it with the one thing he knows how to do, which is kill. He doesn't get the help he needs, so he does the one thing he was trained to do as a Spartan and as a champion of the gods. In the third game, it's the same way. He's angry up until he has Pandora. Once he has Pandora, he's a much different person. He's still fighting, but he does it with a different purpose. And once he loses Pandora, he's back on his thing of vengeance and all sorts of things, and then he's sad again and all sorts of stuff. That is the problem with masculine culture. The problem is that when you don't analyze things from an aspect of view, like Kratos does, you get things like, I can take down a bear. You can't. That's just not gonna happen, my dudes. But that, overall, in my opinion, is Kratos' character through the first 3 games. He is not actually one-dimensional. He has multiple things, but he is plagued with toxic masculinity, which is, I need to take down everything because I have nothing. Masculinity in itself is not the problem, it's when it's untamed. And it goes for everything else. When you don't have diversity, when you don't have any control, when you don't have reflection, when you don't have a support system, this is what you get. Kratos was bred, you are a Spartan, you are a general, you are a commander, you are the leader. Everyone's depending on you, you need to be in control. And so when he loses that control, when he loses all of that, he doesn't know what to do, and this is what happens. And so we lead into the 4th game, where we see a much different person. Someone who goes from his early 20s as a young man who is told, fight, kill, fuck, destroy, that is what you do as a man. That is what makes you a man. And in the fourth game, we see a much different person, someone who's older and wiser, and I would say in a journey that I think a lot of other men do with, particularly myself, having dealt with some of that stuff. But thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified of future videos. I have been Ruminous.
August.
We'll see you guys next time.